Warning: the following video has not been approved by the Comic Code Authority and is intended for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The.Comic.Assassin. Alright, it's Friday. This is the day we'll let you guys know what books I picked up this week, and we also do a little bit of a comic book review. I got 2 books in store for you. First off, let me give a shout out to my non-sponsor. This show is not brought to you by ramen noodles. Okay? Because who doesn't like saving money? And we all gotta eat, right? So yeah, I want to eat some food, and I want to save some money so I can buy some more books next week. This was a light week for me, and I'm glad that it was. I needed a week that just wasn't just overpowering on my wallet this week. And there was a few books that I wanted to pick up that my LCS just didn't have, like Forever Maps #1. Butcher Queen looked good. I wanted to pick that one up, but couldn't find it. So, very small haul this week. And looking at the lineup for next week, it might be even smaller, because there's really not a lot of stuff coming out next week that I'm that enthusiastic about. But that's a video for Monday. Please come back and check it out. But this is what I did pick up. So first off, I had to go with the Absolute Carnage #3. I had to go with that variant, the Pepe Larraz. You got the symbiote covering what looks like Hulk. Oh, actually, it is Hulk because it says Hulk on the cover, so there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But yeah, had to pick that one up. For House of X, I usually go with the connecting covers. Was not digging that connecting cover this week, so I went with good old cover A on that one. So there's that. For DC, only 2 books. Had to go with Teen Titans 34. I want to say it's the Garner variant. But anyway, it's a sweet looking cover. Been digging Teen Titans. So pick that one up. And this was, to me, the cover of the week. Flash Forward #1. The In-Hyuk Lee variant. Just a sweet looking book. For Indie, the only one I was able to get was Once in Future #2. Besides the one I'm about to do a review on. But yeah, it was funny that they had many copies of #2, but my LCS didn't carry a single issue #1 out of all the reprints and everything else. But they had a whole bunch of #2. But hey, I'm glad to give #2 a read, and I would have liked to have #1, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. The only dollar books that I got this week is I got this Logo Annual Bloodlines #1. And I got this because Tim, the Canadian comic book hunter, who also has a YouTube show, you should go check him out. He's got a good stuff. Mentioned this book because there's some hype, because this character right here, it's her first appearance. Her name's Layla. And there's some talk that maybe she might be Crush's mom. But nonetheless, I mean, it's Lobo. You can't go wrong. Dollar. Got 2 copies. They were back to back in the dollar bins. I was like, you know what? Why not? Why not? Alright, so the 2 books I'm going to be reviewing for you today. The first one is Show's End #2. And this is from Mad Cave Comics. I did a review of #1. So basically, what happened in #1 is there's this little girl. She has this gift or a curse, whatever you might want to call it, where she turns into this beast. Her father sells her off to someone who we think like owns a carnival or owns a freak show or something along those lines. And the mother, before he comes back to claim his purchase, the mother lets her loose and says, "Go, run." And she does. She runs for quite a while, and she stumbles upon another kind of a freak show or carnival, however you want to put it. And she meets this friend. She gets a friend that's a pinhead, but the whole time this is the carnival. So you get like the locals coming in, causing trouble. All this livestock starts disappearing, and being mutilated, and they're blaming the freak show for all these misfortunate events. They come in with their guns blazing, not trying to hurt anybody, just to scare them off, but lo and behold, they actually killed the Pinhead, who was this girl's friend. And then all you see is this beast running wild, tearing them all up. And that's kind of how the first one ended. Second one starts in kind of where this guy's doing an interview, and he's like, yeah, no one really believed my story. And the guy's like, oh, the person who's doing the interview is like, I don't see why. And it turns out to be the person who's questioning this guy is the guy that the girl was sold to in the very first issue. Alright, so basically he dopes up this guy and he's like, hey, I need you to help me out. And the guy's like, yeah, I'll do it, And then it cuts back to the circus. So basically, she's in a cage. You have this character who I guess is like the fortune teller is like, hey, I have to ask you some questions. And there's some backstory about, her in cages and whatnot. But basically, they are going to a special place where they bury their own. And this place is called, let me see if I can get to it without getting too far ahead. Yep, Show's End. So I guess that's where we get the title from. It's the place where they go and they bury the ones that they lost. It's kind of secret, it's kind of hidden. But they're going to bury Tipsy, which is the Pinhead that got shot in the first issue. And there's some pretty cool characters in here. They got this banter between these guys. They're taking a ride. You got a guy who looks like a clown, but almost got slits in his mouth, kind of like Joker in some of the issues. This one guy in the middle, I don't really know what he is, but he keeps on talking about how he's seen all these different dimensions and like knows about the apocalypse and all that. You got a guy who looks like a pig. So there's some pretty cool characters in here. Anyway, they go to bury them, and basically the girl, she had taken Tipsy's doll, and she's like, hey, will you please, bury her with this? Like, I'm sorry for taking it. I cleaned it up. It was like the only thing I had from her. Like, she was my only friend that I ever had, even though they were just acquainted. Like, they didn't know each other for long, but it was like the only true friend she felt like she ever had. So she's super remorseful that this has happened. Anyway, so they're burying Tipsy. And basically the girl shows up with the fortune teller, and some of them are kind of pissed, like, what is she doing here? Because they feel like it's her fault. Because the people came because this beast was rampaging, these farms. She's the beast. And even though she didn't mean for any of this to happen, it kind of was directly or indirectly her fault. Anyway, she comes, she says her piece, and it's enough for them. It made them feel like, okay, like she's just a kid. She's got this power that we don't understand. She messed up, but we're all freaks here. We take care of our own. So they're in there talking, and she's invited in. She's like, hey, like we've decided that we want to keep you around, but there's got to be some rules. Rule number one, and he's telling her right there. He's like, rule number one, no more turning into the beast. That's done. I don't care how mad you get, whatever. And also, if you're going to be here, we got to get you a gig. We got to put you on the stage. We got to make you work. And apparently, she's kind of invulnerable, even in her child state. Like, so she's bulletproof, this and that. Like, she really can't be hurt. So they've come up with another thing. And what do they call it? The Stair of Swords or something like that, where basically, she'll be walking on knives and swords, and she can't be hurt because her skin's like impenetrable. So they're going to plan on putting her into the act. In the meantime, the carnival guy, the guy that I talked about in the beginning, the one who went to originally, Captain Corley is his name. Captain Corley takes the guy that he was interviewing or questioning, And basically he's draining all his blood for some type of sacrifice. It looks like it's some old deserted circus or something like that. Don't know if it shows end or not. But basically he does this ritual with the blood and he resurrects all these dead carnival freaks. And to be continued. I really liked issue 2. Number 1, I liked it, but I didn't know how they could keep it going. I thought number 2 was pretty good. It's definitely one I'm gonna pick up issue number 3. So y'all, if you're not checking out this book, I highly recommend it because it was enjoyable. The artwork's good, the dialogue's good. We'll have to see where it goes. But yeah, digging show's end. Now the next one, and I don't normally do these, but I'm gonna have to do it. Spider-Man number 1. Alright, I did get the Chip Kid die cut variant. It's a pretty cool variant there, cover price. Originally, I went into my LCS with the expectation of getting that Ramos cover. It's the one that actually had Spider-Man and a little bit of a view of Cadaverous, which is the new villain introduced in this. Because basically that was the first cover appearance as well. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. A lot of people came onto this book with kind of a chip on their shoulder. And it's understandable. The whole thing that they did with the whole like countdown with the webs, like there was all this speculation, like, oh, they're doing a Fantastic Four movie because there's like a web and a 4, and it was a countdown. Once we got to the end of it, it was like, oh, J.J. Abrams and his son are doing a Spider-Man book. And I think all of us were like, really? Y'all hyped this up so much just to make an announcement that J.J. Abrams is doing a comic book with his kid? And I think a lot of people had a chip on their shoulder about that. I think they have a chip on their shoulder because here's this big movie guy and his son who wants to do a comic book, and they let him do one. Oh, speaking of which, my son's got a comic book. So let's try to pitch this. This is the Awesome Spider-Man. Alright? The Awesome Spider-Man. And we even have a little mini promo just for you guys. Alright? I'm going to cover his name here. Look, here's some right off the press stuff right here. The Awesome Spider-Man. Okay? Only 25 cents, y'all. 25 cents. It's affordable. You know, we got some cool action going on there. We got the Awesome Spider-Man fighting who other than the Green Goblin. Y'all, this is some hot stuff right here, y'all. And so I'm gonna pitch this to Marvel, and my son better get a comic book too. Alright. Anyway, with that being said, let's get back to Spider-Man number 1. I'm not going to go in too much in depth with this one because I don't want to spoil too much. Yeah, I'm going to spoil it. I will say, I really did like this book. It's a mini-series, so I got to keep that to heart. There's some things in this book that you just know aren't going to carry over into the bigger Marvel universe. Alright, so this is an all self-contained type of story, so you got to keep that in mind. But basically it starts off where apparently Peter Parker is like getting his butt whooped by something, and Mary Jane is there like saying, come on Tiger, we gotta go. She's helping him up, and then we see the villain. This is Cadaverous, which once again they pitch this guy as being big, scary, and one of the nastiest villains you ever seen. He doesn't look any of that to me. Not saying he's not a cool character, he just didn't live up to the hype. But the big event, while Mary Jane is trying to get Peter out of this situation, Mary gets it. Alright, so we have Mary Jane dying right there. There's all this big scene, it goes on to some funeral stuff. And then we jump forward to 12 years later. Okay? And then we talk about the real main character of the story. And that's this kid right here. And basically, this is a scene where a kid's getting bullied, and this kid over here wants nothing to do with it. He steps in, the bully goes down, and he gets in trouble. And the kid in question is Benji Parker, son of Spider-Man and Mary Jane. So basically, the rest of the story is Benji just trying to deal with adolescence. Like, he's trying to stand up for folks who are getting bullied. He's the one always getting in trouble. He's got some other stuff going on, like he's trying to open up doors and the doors are sticking. So he's kind of growing into some kind of powers. And Peter is kind of gone the whole time. So Peter's off. He guess he works some type of job where he's traveling all the time. He's never home. Aunt May is pretty much raising this kid. And even Aunt May is seeing this, and she's like putting two and two together, right? Basically, when he did get in trouble at school, we get the first scene of Peter Parker. I kind of like how they did Peter Parker. He's all, he's got the beard. He's all, kind of rough and gruff there, and he's having a dialogue with his son. There's some other stuff that goes on, but basically, Aunt May is seeing what's going on with this kid, and she's on the phone with Peter, and she's like, "Look, I saw this going on with you. This is going on with him. Like, you need to be there for your kid." And like Peter's like, "Maybe that's even better. Why shouldn't it be there?" And this is probably one of my favorite scenes. Like these 2 pages are pretty cool. First off, you got Spider-Man. Peter Parker is missing a hand. All right, he's got a hook. So, or not necessarily a hook, but he's got a prosthetic. So Peter Parker is missing one of his hands, and then you have this weird dream sequence that Benji's having with his mom. So he sees his mom, there's all this blood, he's trying to get to his mom, but he can't because there's all this blood around. Meanwhile, Aunt May has a little heart-to-heart with Benji, and she's like, "You know what? I think it's time that you need to go look at this stuff." And she sends him up to the attic, and he's seeing just all these pictures, and she's like, "No. You look at all this, I'm gonna leave you be. What you really want to see is underneath the floorboards." So he looks, and what does he find? He finds his dad's suit. So, and there was some other stuff. There was some other stuff with Cadaverous. Where was that? I didn't think it was. I thought it was near the very end of the book, but maybe I skipped. Oh, so we have another scene of Cadaverous, and basically he's sitting there and he's basically saying he needs a key. He needs a key to fulfill whatever he's trying to work with. And there's some woman that's in some cryo chamber type of thing. Don't really know who that is. You might want to think it might be. I'm not going to speculate too far into that one. But that's that. Knowing that it's a miniseries, knowing that it's not going to stick across the major MCU, I actually liked the book. I thought it was pretty entertaining. Sarah Pichelli did fantastic artwork in this thing, and it was well written. I got to give it to the Abrams on this one. It was a well written book. It threw you. This one kind of threw everybody for a twist. So yeah, I'll definitely be picking up issue 2, but but this book has already caused, like, Spider-Man was at 59, or Spider-Girl 59, like the first appearance of Benji Parker, to start really hitting hard on the secondary market. And that's another thing too, when it comes to secondary market, I don't think Cadaverous might be a villain that might stick around. We don't know. We know this is his first appearance. What I didn't like is that, and this is what I don't like about variants, the Ramos cover that I was wanting to get would have been maybe technically considered his first cover appearance as well, even though it's not very clear that it's Cadaverous. But when you do all these variants, that makes it hard to know which one is considered the first cover appearance. Because as a collector, we all know, we go out, we try to get number ones of first appearances of a character, and those are usually the books that you want to get. But those other books, from a speculator point of view, that you're like, okay, what's their first cover appearance? And some of those can be really, really hot. Look at some of those, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel books. It wasn't necessarily their first appearance, but and sometimes even like the second or third print where they come out with a cover, and it being them on the cover for the first time makes that book pop. Well, what I found kind of interesting too is, and you may or may not have been able to receive some of these, but they also came out with these Spider-Man behind the scenes, which have these also cadaverous looking characters on them. Now these were free, these were promo things. I picked up two just for what, why not? It's all kind of black and white. There's no words to them, but just the black and white artwork, which was pretty cool. So yeah, that's that. But could this be considered a first appearance? Even though like these guys, I don't think there's all these minions, so I don't know. I'm still confused about this whole new villain thing. But yeah, that's that. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought about my pickups. Let me know what you thought about these two books, especially if you've read them. I thought they were both good books for what they were. I definitely like Shows Spider-Man, surprisingly for me, even though I'm a huge Spidey fan, I liked it. I came into it with a chip on my shoulder, but I have to take it at face value. Like just knowing that it's a short mini series. Try to enjoy it if you're a Spidey fan. It gives you a different perspective. As a father, I always find it interesting to see how other comic book characters interact with kids. So there's some of that parental, what's the right word? There's some issues going on with Peter and his son. So seeing how Peter handles it, how the kid is handling it with his father being gone, I always find that kind of interesting, especially as a parent, the dynamics of these relationships. So with that being said, y'all, I'm going to let y'all go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thanks for all the people who have subscribed, liked, disliked, made comments. I appreciate it all. So with that being said, y'all, this is Drewski, the Comic Assassin. I hope y'all all have a great, great weekend. And if you get to your LCS or you're able to go try to find some books, I'm going to wish you all happy hunting.